welcome to the Rose System. It has been quite some time since we last uploaded, and a part of that has been one, we are no longer happy with the quality of the facial tracking and hand tracking that we are able to currently produce. Another reason has been that we are exhausted all of the time, and our chronic pain is flaring up all of the time. We are still settling into working as much as we do. We love our job and we love the community that we have at our job, but at the same time we are masking constantly, and that is having an effect. But we are also seeing a new therapist. We found her online after our attempts to find someone in person failed due to where we live. So we are seeing her online and it is going incredibly well. She has already helped a number of alters in our system. She has helped us communicate with the alters we didn't previously have communication with. And the thing that has been the most helpful is that we only have to describe our experience. We don't have to explain the science. We don't have to explain why our DID formed or how the mechanics of DID works. We only have to explain our personal experience of living with it. And we had a conversation in our last therapy session that has stuck with us, and we thought we would share with you. In the therapy session, we were talking about how we recently split. We had a medium T, so big T trauma, little T trauma. This was somewhere in between, in that it wasn't something going horrifically wrong, but it absolutely terrified us and took us out of action for a little while due to what it was. And we split as a result of this new interaction that we had with someone. And we were talking about it with our therapist and how we don't know whether this split will remain separate or whether this split will fuse back into me. And we explained our experience of a system who splits frequently but also fuses frequently, in that the way our brain manages and copes with the trauma that we experience, we are constantly splitting. If we get panicked, if we are overwhelmed, if we get scared, we will split. And usually once the incident has been processed, the fragment that split off fuses back in and the processing is complete and there's no more reaction to whatever happened. And this can be just minor things, like sorry. This can be minor things like someone leaning in and we think they're about to kiss us, and we'll get panicked thinking that they're about to kiss us, and so we'll split, and then the situation will get dealt with. They'll go, oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to come across as that, I was just reaching across you to grab this particular item. And the brain, and after the anxiety has decreased, then the fragment that split off with the fear that we were about to be kissed fuses back in. And our brain works this way because I, as the host, am meant to be completely and utterly unaware. I am not supposed to know that trauma exists. I'm not supposed to know that we've been through it. I'm not supposed to know that we are a system. And the only way to keep the fact that we are traumatized away from my knowledge was to take anything with any stress, any anxiety attached to it and remove it. Reason being, when you have a trauma response, but there's no known trauma, you think of yourself as insane and overreacting and everything else. So if you remove all of the little t trauma and the PTSD reactions and compartmentalize them and remove them from the consciousness, then it hides the fact that trauma has occurred in the past and something in the present is acting upon it. Now, the fact that I remember the incident that caused us to split a couple of weeks back, or a week back, what day is it? Sorry. One of the things with being a system for us is keeping a track of what happened when. Our timeline is not very good. But, sorry, just starting to dissociate. Yeah, so when this incident happened, we were quite concerned about what it would mean for our future, and it did quite scare us. But I remember it, and I remember the fears, and I remember the drive home and the panic attack and everything else. But I don't have access to any of the emotions. I am numb. So whilst I remember the physical side of things in terms of I can give you a step-by-step account of what happened, I cannot tell you, I cannot feel the emotions that were attached to it. I cannot remember the emotions attached to it. Like, I can remember how the body was responding. I can remember that there was a panic attack, but I can't remember feeling the panic attack. And so this makes me think that the split is still separate from me. And when we see the person involved, the emotions come back. And I think that's the split getting closer to the front, triggered by the presence of the person who scared us. Something we want to make clear, the person did not intend to scare us. It was a pure accident on their part. They weren't doing anything inappropriate. They weren't meaning anything by it. Like, they were just trying to have a conversation with us and happened to really badly trigger us in the process. And, you know, they've been spoken to about it and they are very apologetic, and they are being very respectful of our boundaries now that they know what our boundaries are. So we're all good on that front, just so you know. But I can't feel the emotions. And so this fragment who's come off me has everything in common with me, except they feel the emotions attached to that incident and I do not. And that is quite confusing, but is a very common part of our experience with our DID. And I was explaining our system structure to the therapist and how many of us have subsystems of fragments that hold particular memories or emotions or information, and those fragments are a part of that altar but are kept separate from the altar for that reason. And she was a little bit confused by that and asked us to explain a little bit more. And we were able to say, well, Nova, if I were a colour, let's assign me red. I am the colour red. And all of my fragments are different shades of red. But we are all red, we are all the one colour, it's just we are different facets of the same colour. And Kel is blue, and his fragments are different shades of blue. And middle L is purple, and her fragments are different shades of purple. And so what happens with us, one, we are never, whilst there is typically only one person fronting at a time, we are never alone. We are always blended with at least 2 people, frequently 3 or 4. When something big is happening externally, it gets quite crowded in the front, and we struggle with focusing on the external world because our head is so crowded, and it feels like being pushed out of the brain. It feels like you're in an elevator and the elevator is so crowded that when the doors open, there is this great force behind you trying to push you out. But the front is the furthest out you can go. You can't get further out. But it results in us being incredibly blended and incredibly dissociated. And one of the things with being our system is that we are blended virtually all of the time. Whilst one person might be explicitly fronting there's always at least one other person watching and giving input or co-fronting or just being around. And that blended and that co-con type stuff results in a near constant dissociation and a near constant identity confusion. And so when I'm at the front, it is red. But when Kel joins me, the red and the blue mix. And when Sebastian joins, then the red, the blue, and the orange mix. And when Wraith is around, you get grey mixed in with it. And when you have Summer around, there's yellow mixed into it. And it's like a paint palette that has been all mixed together. And you can't separate the colors. It is just a blended mess. And you know, when the analogy kind of breaks down here, but when someone goes, their color will go with them. And there are times when I'm fronting where we are red and we've got a little bit of blue mixed in, or we've got a little bit of orange mixed in. But a fragment, a very specific shade of purple will mix in, or a very specific shade of green will mix in, and it's that fragment coming forward with information and then going again. And so we are constantly many different colors, and that is quite tricky to navigate. You know, when I am in the front and I am all alone and I cannot sense anyone else in the body, in the brain, when I am completely cut off from my system, I am just red. But as soon as I've got any connection with the inner world or with any of my alters, my redness changes and I no longer have a strong sense of who I am. And this fluctuation in my sense of identity fluctuates so regularly and so inconsistently as well, that it's a strange thing to deal with. We are constantly unsure of who we are. And what makes it even more difficult is the fact that our default state is that if someone is in the front, they will mask as me. Home alone, they will mask as me, because we are so used to, and my system is so used to pretending to be me to keep me completely unaware. Because if you pretend to be a shade of red and you mix in with the red, then it comes out as red. And so when our therapist asks us, who is with you today? Who am I interacting with today? It is this thing of going, well, there is red, there is blue, there is grey, there is orange, but a very specific tone of orange. So that means that that particular fragment is present, as well as the core altar. And so it's this ongoing confusion. We are dissociated all of the time. You know, I'm like right now, I can't tell you who I am. I'm Nova, I think, but I'm not actually sure. I don't feel entirely red, but I'm not sure what colours are mixing in. And I'm not even sure if I'm red at all. I could be an alter who's so used to masking that I have convinced myself that I'm the host. I know that normally when we film, we don't film with this clarity in our voice. We are constantly stopping and starting. But we have been filming for almost 21 minutes without stopping, without messing up, without needing to repeat sentences over and over. In fact, the most disruptive thing that has happened with this recording is the fact that our cats are playing. And when we edit, I guess we'll find out whether you can hear the cats playing on the microphone. So, yeah. I think I'm Nova, but I'm not sure. I don't know what colour I am. I don't know. The identity confusion that we face all of the time is incredibly difficult. There are certain people that when they are fronting, they have a very distinct colour to them. Especially if they are not masking. You know, when Kel is fronting and not even trying to hide it, you can tell. People who don't know we are a system knows that something's up. But when Kel masks as us, as Nova, then it gets more confusing. Many of us cannot take the mask down. Many of us can't pretend to be ourselves. That's not the right wording. Many of us can't allow ourselves to be ourselves. You know, we had an alter fronting the other day. Her name is Abigail. And Abigail formed relatively early on. She used to be a member of one's team. She used to be involved in the physical labour that occurred when trauma seasons ended and new seasons began. She's one of the ones who helped us transition between epochs. And then as responsibilities grew as a preteen and as a teenager, she became a part of life. And she has spent her entire existence pretending to be Nova. And to the point that when Nova was co-con with her, Nova had no clue she wasn't fronting. Nova thought that she was just being super productive. That the responsibilities that she had been putting off were actually getting done because she had a burst of energy. When in reality, Angela had fronted and Angela exists to do the task that Nova was struggling to do. And it wasn't until Kel pointed out her existence to Nova that Angela was finally able to drop the mask. If Nova doesn't know we exist, we cannot drop the mask, because our whole point is to be hidden. And so it is quite confusing, and I now know for certain I'm not Nova, but I cannot give you more of my identity. I cannot tell you who I am because I am so used to masking. I am so used to pretending to be the host. I am so used to being the shade of red that Nova is. I don't Our existence is something that we were told we would have to hide for life. That we would have to force ourselves to be a shade that we are not. That we would have to change fundamental aspects of who we are because our existence was something that should never be known. That bad things would happen if we made our existence known. This video started off as Nova, and then I got dragged in. Or maybe I was just present the entire time. It's one of the things about living without DID is that the blendiness and the amnesia and the wild way our brain decides to categorize things. It just means that we come and go and Nova is none the wiser, and we don't fully remember when we stepped in. You just kind of do what needs to be done. I don't think I even have a name. I don't think I even have a name. I can tell you about me though. My hair is orange and curly. Not like Middle L's, I think is what she goes by on the channel. It's like curly, almost like Merida's from Brave. I am an age slider. I slide between 13 and 17. I am a bookworm. I am one of the authors who spent a lot of time reading in our teenage years. I'm average height, I guess you could say, but very thin and very slender. Like willowy is, I think, a term that would be applied. I thought of someone that I thought I might look like, but I was remembering her wrong. I'll make a pic crew for you and Nova will add it to the video. But my name is Lucinda. I have finally managed to work that out. My name is Lucinda. It was a pleasure making this video for you and sharing a little bit of insight to our existence of what it's like pretending to be Nova to the point where you forget that you're not. And the different colours. I'm not sure what colour I'd be. I mean, there's not enough colours to cover all of us. But yeah, it was a pleasure meeting you all. And Nova's gonna have a lot of fun editing this video. She's present enough to know that she's not fronting, but she's not present enough to fully comprehend what's going on all around her. And that being me. She's not fully aware of what I'm saying. She knows that a pic crew will be made. And so I guess we're going to go from there. Much love. Bye.